They used to work for Flipkart, and they used to do the last mile delivery for Flipkart. They were Flipkart employees. They left Flipkart to do a startup. That company is what is called Rapido today. So these guys, nobody was sort of encouraging them or supporting them at that time. So I feel proud that I had given them a term sheet at that time, because I realized that in India, bikes are going to play a very big role. And another company which I would like to talk about, which is called Spinny. Spinny is, today a leader in second-hand cars. So when Spinny came to the market, nobody was willing to touch them because there were many other funded companies which had very large, deep pockets.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Chai Pe Career podcast with your friendly host Shri. And today with us we have one of India's most prolific angel investors, Mr. Hari Balasubramanian. A brief introduction about him. So Hari has been an entrepreneur himself, and then he wanted to help other entrepreneurs and became an investor. Currently he is in the investor committee of a lot of leading institutions like IIM Calcutta, NSRCL, IIM Bangalore, IIT Hyderabad, and he also leads investments through the Indian Angel Network. He is also associated as an advisor with Ivy Cap Ventures and multiple other investments that he leads single-handedly. So Hari, thank you so much for being with us today. And I'm very happy that you've promised to be my mentor. And as an entrepreneur, I have to ask you, when you evaluate startups, both from the perspective of being an advisor or a mentor, what are you really looking for in that startup or the founder?
See, this is a very difficult question because, what I would like to see in an entrepreneur is a spark, in the sense that there is something that the entrepreneur wants to do, because of which he or she is willing to dedicate a lot of time and efforts, and not being really afraid of failure, right? So entrepreneurship is a journey. So it's very important that, does a person have the mindset to go through that journey? Because it's just not that you get funded and you become successful, or you get acquired, you become successful. It's an entire journey. And the most important thing is, if somebody enjoys that journey, then everything becomes so easy for that person. So the idea that you are having and that you want to pursue, that is important. At the same time, that idea can change, because if you are going in a wrong direction, you can always correct yourself. But the journey is what is very important. So typically, I would like to identify whether the entrepreneur has that spark of understanding that this is something which has to be enjoyed, though the journey is very tough.
So you're looking basically at resilience, if I understand correctly, the ability to withstand the pressure of the entrepreneurial journey?
I think resilience is a very different type of word. I would say that it's a mindset. Mindset is a combination of number of factors. So one is, are you as inquisitive as a child? That's one. The other one is, if anything happens, how long will you carry that negativity that comes in? The other thing is, it's a lonely journey. Do you love to be alone? That's also very important, because the journey is so difficult. Not many people understand this journey. So you are your best friend. Yeah. You are your best mentor. You are your best guru. That's what I would tell people. So it's important for you to energize yourself all the time and be focused in terms of your goals.
Yeah.
So that becomes very important.
Yeah. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I have had countless times when I've had to back myself. And I think that's what you're basically talking about, that nobody's going to stand by you when the going gets tough except yourself. I mean, even if they say they can't really relate. So I completely understand. And in terms of sectors, like, are there any hot sectors that you're looking at? Because sometimes, the hot sectors become cold and then new hot sectors emerge. So would you say that is something that you look at, or you think that doesn't matter?
No, I think, this journey is a very long journey, right? So if you want to get in and get out very quickly, then there are some sectors which you can get into. It's like the stock market, traders, who get in and get out quickly. At the same time, there are value investors who invest based on a thesis, and then they wait for a multiple to happen and then they exit. So I would say that if you look at a country like India, everywhere we have an opportunity. Whatever you say, there is an opportunity. So what doesn't look hot today will become hot tomorrow. What is very hot today becomes very cold tomorrow. So I would say that it's not about, time is very important, which means there are certain sectors which are hot today. But it doesn't matter, if you are pursuing something which is going to impact a very large number of people or a very large industry, it may be cold today, but it would be very hot. I remember one of my friends, and when I started my career, one of my friends, he used to work in the defense sector. So at that time, defense sector was no private sector would even dare to enter the defense sector. But he has been at it for the last almost 40 years, and today he is India's top. I would say in terms of rich people, he is the top 100. He will be the top 100. But the journey of 40 years that he has gone through, the type of hardships that I have seen that he has gone through, it's a journey, and it's worth it today because the results show in itself. And he's been instrumental in taking India to be a pioneering player in the defense sector. But it has taken 40 years of work. It's not that easy.
So when he joined, it was not hot.
It was nobody. Everybody would say that, what are you doing? Are you crazy? This is what used to happen to even entrepreneurship, when young people used to go and tell their parents that we don't want to do a job, or we don't want to do this, we want to become an entrepreneur. Parents would say, no, are you crazy? Who is going to pay your money? Who is going to get married to you? Or you will have all types of problems. We will have social problems, right? But today it has changed.
Can I tell you, even I faced that.
Oh, okay.
So when I first told my father that I want to do a startup, he said, what's a startup? Is that an upstart?
Okay.
So upstart basically is the meaning of that is that it's a new thing that suddenly you take and it's in the fad and it'll go. So he called it that.
Right.
So he, it was very difficult for me as a first generation to convince. And of course, some of our viewers are also in that space, and some of them do want to become entrepreneurs. So what is your message? If their parents are like, after college, take up the stable job, do that.
See, I won't say even after college. I would say right from the early stages when you are getting educated, when you have got some sense of what you want to do, or if you see that there are opportunities in any space. For example, if you like music and you want to be a musician, I think you should absolutely try that. It's not about making money, it's about being happy. That's what is most important. So there are many people who have spent their entire life doing something which actually did not lead them to happiness. It only gave them more and more, I would say, pressure, load, tension, stress, and ultimately at the end of the life, and almost at the end of their life, they realize, oh my God, I've been chasing, every day I've been running, but I don't know what I'm doing, right? So I think young people should be given the freedom of pursuing what they want to do. They should be allowed to, fail also. And, they are very smart, and once they fail on something, they know exactly what they want. Yeah, so I think young people, there are many people who have spent a lifetime and they've never understood what they are good at doing. If you see many Indian women, they have been trained in such a way that they've just got to do what other people tell them. They've never had a mind of their own. I'm not saying all of them, but women, let's say 20 years or 25 years ago, or even 50 years ago, they would not have a mind of their own because they would just follow what their parents or husband or family would say, right? But today it is different. Today, women are totally independent, and women want to do what they want to do. So I would say that it's very important for young people to be given the opportunity to do what they want to do, what they like to do, because if you like what you are doing, you never feel tired. But what happens today, we talk about so much of stress, we talk about people not wanting to come to office, there are Monday blues, Sunday blues, all these type of things. Why does it happen? Because you go and do something which you don't like doing. So it's very important for people to discover what they like doing, and that journey starts from a very early stage. So if you can find it early, then your chances of success in terms of what we call as success is very high, which means success is about enjoying what you do. So if you can get there, nothing like it, then you don't care about anything else.
And I know you walk the talk, because I know that as a parent, I think one of your children is pursuing music full time and the other is pursuing poker full time.
Yeah.
So you have actually walked the talk with this in terms of empowering your kids to do what they really love to do.
I didn't empower anything. I just let them flow the way they wanted to flow. I didn't put a barrier there. I just encouraged them that, okay, if this is what you want to do it. That's it. So I think if most parents allow their children to do what they want to do, many people would say, no, that's totally wrong. Children have to be controlled, they have to be given guidance. Yes, guidance and all is fine, but I think life teaches you the best. So people can learn much better when they experience things rather than when they are taught things.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And so, in the Indian investment ecosystem, coming back to your experience as an investor, there is people believe that there is a bias towards IITians, in terms of investments. A lot of the analysts are also from these premier colleges, so they kind of pick those people. And this is something we hear a lot, that, there are certain places where the networks are stronger, it's easier to access capital, etc. What is your take on this?
See, I think a lot of things happen because of information, right? So if you look at the statistics of successful Indian entrepreneurs, you would see that out of 100 people who have succeeded as entrepreneurs, when I say succeeded as entrepreneurs, which means they've built large businesses, or they've created a very large number of employment, or they've made an impact. If you see, I would say that statistically, a number of them come from the best of best colleges in the country, which means they either come from an IIT or an IIM or many of the other such leading institutes. For example, St. Stephen's College in Delhi, or many other such institutions of excellence are there in India. It's just not the IITs and IIMs. They are very good colleges. We have seen that any student, anybody who studied in those places, the chances of their success is much more than people who have come from very, not so well, very popular type of colleges. So when you run a fund, then what happens is you are taking other people's money, you are taking institutions' money. So what happens is the responsibility of ensuring that the money works, is on you as a fund manager. Mm-hmm. So you would always look at what is a safe bet. So if I bet on somebody, who is, let's say, from an unknown college in some place, and I bet for somebody in IIT, I can always, say that, this guy is a topper from IIT, that's why, it was it. So I think that's a bias which people have, and I don't see anything right or wrong in that. But I would say real entrepreneurs are, nothing can stop them. They're like a river which finds the ocean. A real entrepreneur, right, cannot be stopped, whether he is from IIT or whether he is from nowhere. I remember when I started my entrepreneurial journey, the first thing I did was I used to teach computer science in schools. At that time, CBSE and State Board, they had introduced computer science. But there were hardly any teachers, and schools didn't have computers. So what I used to do is I used to take contracts from schools. And I used to teach computer science, let's say 2-3 days in a week. And I used to carry my computer to do practicals every week. So I remember one of my students who was in class 11, he just left school at that time because his interest in computer science or computers was so intense that he left and started a startup in those days. I'm talking about the 1988-89. And he built a very large company in the world. It's called K7 Computing, as good as Norton Computers. He used to work with viruses. Mm. So I have seen many such instances where, it's been very remarkable. People without education or formal education have been very, very successful also. So there are both sides to this, but there is generally a bias that if you are from a premier institution, you get preferred, by fund managers.
By fund managers. Okay. One question that comes to my mind, because you've led more than 100 investments.
No, not led. I've led maybe more than 20 investments, okay, but I've invested in more than close 100, to 100, 100 startups. Yeah.
Does it ever worry you that some of them may fail?
No, to tell you very honestly, being an entrepreneur, the basic, the intention of supporting other entrepreneurs was because, in my journey, I've made so many mistakes. I don't want other people to make some mistakes. That was the reason why I started, getting into this space. So when I write a check, this used to be my earlier thesis, I would never bother about this money coming back, because the idea was to be part of the journey. And in the process, I've realized that if you are really sincere to your work, automatically results do come. Some of them good, some of them bad, but you learn in the whole process. So the entire process is about becoming, a very good assessor of where the markets are going to go, where entrepreneurs, have to go, or how you should guide them. Because it's not that we know everything. We don't know anything, but we start discovering, we start bringing in a perspective which is very different from what an entrepreneur has got. So I think it's a journey, and you continuously learn in the process.
And out of these 100, what investment are you the most proud of that really, ultimately gave returns which even you had possibly not anticipated at that time?
See, I won't, I won't sort of take positions about that, but I would just like to tell you about 3-4 investments. See, one was an investment in a company called Wow Momo. So they were a Calcutta-based company, very young at that time. Maybe 2-3 years they were there, and they had 3-4 outlets. So at that time, we saw the team and we were really impressed with the founders and what they had done. They were in third year of college in doing BCom in St. Xavier's College, Calcutta, and they realized that they are not that very smart in terms of educating or getting into their family business and things like that. So they started thinking, what will we do after we graduate? So they started this, just doing momos as a product. And today, Wow Momo has got more than 700, 800 stores, and maybe about 600, 700 crores of top line. They employ 6,000, 7,000 people.
And one of the most, I think, successful food QSR kind of.
Yeah, they are one of the early movers in this space, and they created a category called Momo, which was totally unknown to rest of India, right? So momos were popular only in some parts of India, but today Momo is very well known. So this was one of the earliest deals where I had just entered angel investing. So I had led this deal, or I had given a term sheet for this deal, and it was at a very reasonable valuation. Now today this company's valuation, if you see what it was there and what it is now, is almost 500 times of that value. So though in that round, we couldn't invest because the company was a partnership company and they didn't even have a sales tax registration at that time. So they said, sir, we will fail in due diligence, so give us some more time. And after 2 years, they again took an investment at 100 crore valuation.
From you?
No, it was not. I did not lead the deal, but I was part of that deal, and I invested in that deal also. And then, today, I'm very proud about what these guys have done, because these were just 20 something kids, right? They were able to prove to the world that if you have an intention and if you are honest to yourself, you can really make a lot of things. This is one. There's another company, from Bangalore. This again, very young people at the time. They used to work for Flipkart, and they used to do the last mile delivery for Flipkart. They were Flipkart employees. They left Flipkart to do a startup. That company is what is called Rapido today. So Rapido was doing last mile delivery for Flipkart, but then they realized that this is not the business that they want to do. They wanted to do something called as a bike taxi. So bike taxi is something which nobody had heard about that, except in Goa, bike taxis were not, prevalent. So how can you get a commercial bike? So that was the type of question. So these guys, nobody was sort of encouraging them or supporting them at that time. So I feel proud that I had given them a term sheet at that time, because I realized that in India, bikes are going to play a very big role. And this type of a service would definitely take forward. So this I'm talking about almost 12, 13 years ago, when Rapido almost started. It was just maybe 1 or 2 years that they started. And today, like in the month of October, the same type of business only for women by women, I again took a position or led a deal in Delhi for Gurgaon, where a girl started bikes for women riders, because women are again, they feel very uncomfortable riding on a man's bike, and there have been several cases of, what should I say, dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
Some type of agony and things like that. So I thought that women are a very large workforce today. So if you have a Rapido for women, that would also do well. So it has taken almost 12, 13 years for that to actually come to fruition. But I hope this team actually, is able to build the next Rapido. So today Rapido would do, I think, something like 3.5 million rides a day. So at that time, there were hardly 30 rides a day. So I've seen this growth, and that's phenomenal. There's another company which I would like to talk about, which is called Spinny. Spinny is, today a leader in second-hand cars. So when Spinny came to the market, nobody was willing to touch them, because there were many other funded companies which had very large, deep pockets. But the entrepreneur was so resilient. He thought that, this market would remain, and I totally backed him up, because I think that there was a great opportunity in India for a branded second-hand car, brand, I would say. And today that's very successful, and he's been able to create that. So all these journeys I've seen, and I feel really good about it.
Sir, all the startups that you have touched seem to have hit gold.
No, I won't say that. I would say that I've been fortunate.
You also invested in Purple. You were part of that as well.
No, Purple is an investment from IB Cap Ventures, and Purple did very well for the fund, and I think Purple will do even better for our other funds in IB Cap. So yes, I've seen many such stories where entrepreneurs from nothing have been able to build something which is very substantial, especially in impact as well as financial returns for their investors.
Outstanding. And what about D2C, sir? Now we see so much of movement because India is a very large consumer economy, but it's also very hard for D2C startups to scale because margins, distribution, competition, etc. What is your sense of this?
See, D2C is always a big play. Now, because of the way the electronics or e-commerce market has taken up, or the use of computers and the phones, what has happened is it's created a very great channel for distribution, or it's a very great channel for especially reaching out to young people very quickly. So if you look at D2C, as long as you are able to control your distribution and your pricing, you can easily build a brand as long as your products are reasonably good. So, but what happens is most people spend a lot of money in acquiring business. Now that is not sustainable. So if you have a sustainable model where your product cost is very reasonable, at the same time the customer engagement is such that customers want that product, and you are able to build a brand, then it's very easy for you to at least have a reasonable business. But what happens is people are in a hurry. They want to put a lot of money, show a lot of business, and then once the money runs out, you run out of steam. I think we have learnt both ways, but today I think D2C has got a very good opportunity in India because India is a very large market. So here, in other markets maybe there will be players for 3-4 top players. In India at least there can be 10 players for any category. So I would say that everybody has got an opportunity in India. It is totally dependent on how you play it. Of course, to build a brand it takes time. In my opinion, it takes at least 7 to 8 years to really build a brand. So there are many brands which have got built very fast. I'm not talking about them, they are exceptions. Plus a lot of money has also gone into it. So it depends on how you are capital efficient and you are able to build a brand which is very sustainable. So if you look at many brands in India which have gone over a period of time, they are unshakable literally. We vouch for them even today after maybe 50 years or 100 years. So there's a lot of brands which have gone through this test of time and which will remain because the brand is housed in very solid foundation.
Yeah.
So I think that is what entrepreneurs should see. They should see what the changing marketplace is, what the consumer requirements are, how their customers are changing their preferences in terms of the way they consume, the way they buy. And if you are aligned to that, I think you can build a great D2C business in India.
Yeah, super. And we also know of many startups that failed. So in your experience, why do you think startups fail and what are the common points and how to avoid those pitfalls?
See, this is a very, common problem. You will have to fail. When I say you will have to fail, most startups fail because they typically run out of money, or there are founder disputes, or they have built a product which the market doesn't want. So these are typically the reasons why startups fail. In many cases, startups fail because investors mislead them, or they listen to their investors or advisors in such a way that they go into a wrong direction, and then there is a point of no return. So I would say that failure is a very natural process when you take this step to become an entrepreneur. But what is important is for you to fail fast and also to look at building a very lean model by which you can experiment, test and fail. That's one. The other one is, markets change. So what was relevant, let's say, yesterday I was in an investment committee meeting. I saw a company which was very relevant almost 12 months ago. But today they are absolutely irrelevant because in 12 months the technology has changed so much. Whatever they are building or whatever they have done today is available as a commodity. You don't have to pay for it also. So I think it's very important to understand that you really need to find the mark. And if you don't find the mark, you can get tired and you say that, okay, I want to go back to a job. Or you have done many mistakes, which you should not be doing. And then you run out of money. And then investors don't want to back you up. These are the reasons why, startups would fail. And I would say that out of every 1 or 2 startups that you hear which have succeeded, there will be at least 100 startups which would have failed. In India, the resilience is very high, which means people turn startups to lifestyle business, which means they don't shut down, but they continue doing what they are doing because they do not want to accept failure, as something which, culturally, people have a problem of accepting failures because they feel that there will be a social impact, there will be an impact for any other thing. But so they keep to hold a very high horse, high position, saying that no, my business is okay, I have
Still
not shut
running.
down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what are the kind of startups that you are looking at now for the next 10 years? What are your hot sectors? What are the things that you are excited about? I know of one sector because you dabble in that sector a lot and you write on LinkedIn, etc. But you can speak about all the sectors.
I think in India, if you look at India, the consumption story is very strong. So people will continuously look for new ways to consume, new things to consume, new experiences. So because the market is so huge that people will always look for new experiences. So anything which is going to create a new experience will have a market in India. So it depends on how innovative you are in terms of creating experiences. The experience could be taking you to the moon, taking you to Mars, taking you to stars, or whatever it is, or even taking you on a virtual trip to see all the 7 planets. It could be like that also. So I would say that in India the consumption story is very strong. The other area which I see is especially in technology, especially in robotics, in automation, in AI. India can actually become a big, I would say, change maker for the world, which means India has got the talent, but only thing is we have to nurture it and harness it properly. The other area where I see is India is going to be the driver of skills, especially for the overseas market. In overseas markets, the aging population is very large and increasing, and there are certain things which cannot be eliminated by automation. So there are many functions which will require skilled workers, and India can become a very big supplier of skilled workers to all parts of the world. We've got a very young population. So if you look at healthcare, especially in healthcare services, you cannot replace what a nurse does with a robo. Even if you do that, you will not be able to do it in scale in a very short time. So you require healthcare workers. Similarly, there are many other functions where, you will require people to actually work, which cannot be replaced by robots or automation even today, or even if it's to be replaced. There are many other functions which will come where it cannot be replaced. So I would say that skilled labor and skills are going to be very important market. So anybody who is able to create a very large workforce by using automation, including language, because language is a very important aspect for the global market. So if you look at Japan requires so many healthcare workers. Japan requires so many lorry drivers. So these lorry drivers have to learn Indian lorry drivers. If they have to go to Japan, they need to know Japanese. So anybody who is doing these type of activities, which will have a long-term impact, will definitely be worthwhile in terms of investing, because the business model is sort of sustainable. That's one. I would say that climate tech is something which is very important, because today we are actually polluting our world in a very large way. So I think anybody who can build technology, because the type of pollution that we have created, the type of problems that we have created for the world can be only solved by technology and by people becoming conscious. So technology can actually disrupt this whole space. For example, if you take the pollution in many cities, it's very difficult for us to control the entire city today, even with legislation. But technology can actually reverse this whole process. So I do see technology to play a very, very important role in doing this. The other one is, I would say the food sector is extremely hot. I'm very bullish about the Indian food sector, because in India everybody needs to eat. And, today we have a very large population to feed. So creating nourishing food at the right type of cost, and creating experiences in terms of, I would say culinary experiences, that's also a big market in India. So I would say food entrepreneurs have got a, universal language to speak, which doesn't require many things except that your food must be able to speak, and then you should be able to build a brand, and you should be able to scale. So I would say that the QSR or the food sector is also very hot in India. Of course, fintech and other things, India is very underserved in terms of I would say financial support to many segments. So financial tech is also a very, I would say, bullish area as far as I'm concerned, provided you have innovation. And of course, I think if you look at the litigation in India and in the type of legal services that we provide, lawyers are very, very difficult for most people to even approach. Or even if I approach, I may not get the quality type of service that I expect for my case. So I would say legal tech has got a very big opportunity in India, primarily because Indian law is Indian law. It cannot be run from America, right? So in India, if you are able to get some very good legal platforms which can help a very common man, in his language for his particular case, I think that's got a very big opportunity. Even with small payments, I think this could be, mega corporations, if you are able to do that.
Right. Super. So I think you touched upon a lot of sectors, and do you think any of these startups from India have the potential to go global?
Absolutely. Indian startups are already going global. There are many of them who've already made a name for themselves. So I think it's going to be more and more people who we will see go to the global market. For example, even if you take a Oyo, Oyo has gone global, right? Similarly, many other companies are already, for example, we have a portfolio company in IV Cap called Miko. So they sell a small robo to children. And today they entirely sell their products during Christmas and New Year, and they are a very large company today. So there are plenty of companies in India who've already gone global with their technology, with their products. So I don't see any reason why we can't see more. So we would see a very large number of Indian entrepreneurs who would make a mark in the global market.
And do you think we can ever have something like ChatGPT from India, or the alternative to that? Because it took them billions of dollars to build that. So
no, if you see, the recent times, we have seen DeepSeek which is from a Chinese company, and they have actually managed to rattle the big wigs in this space. I don't see that as a problem. I think Indians always underestimate themselves, especially in India. I think the power of Indians will get nourished. It's like Hanuman, who didn't know what his power is. So I think Indian entrepreneurs are like Hanumans. Once they are told what their power is, they will be the best.
And we are the best at jugaad. Nobody can beat us at that. Having 1 rupee and then making the most of that rupee, I think we know how to do it.
See, jugaad is, jugaad works in certain places, but in certain places you really require deep thinking. When I say deep thinking, if you want to touch humanity, you really need to have a different mindset. It cannot be just jugaad. Jugaad is something which works in certain spaces, but I would say that it's more about going deep into multiple sciences. For example, when I say multiple sciences, it would mean that you need to work on material sciences, you need to work on space technology, you need to work on human, I would say, the human body. So many things are there. If you are able to put them together, that is when you can really create an impact which will work for the world.
Yeah.
And I think Indians are capable of doing that. If you see our ancient India, we have had so many successes in ancient India which are even relevant today. For example, if you take yoga, or if you take some of our Ayurvedic practices, there are many people who vouch for it even today, and even today it works. So which means that India can actually deliver a lot of things to the world. And today, Indians are capable of doing that.
No, so what I meant with Jugaad is that when we have a little bit of resource, we try to maximize the outcomes or the ROI from it. And some of us, like, who are still bootstrapped, have to do that. We don't have an option. You were saying that is also there's a...
So I'm saying that, the India today is very different than the India that was there 20 years ago, right? Today, there are Indians who believe that they need to invest on a long-term basis on problems which have been identified, but which are maybe not relevant for today, but they are very important for the future, right? So today there are Indians who have that patience, who can put money for 10 or 20 years and wait for these type of successes. Only thing is, your entrepreneurs have to show that they have got that vision to pursue something for 20 years, and they need backers for that. In India today, we have backers. So, which was not there in the earlier situation. Earlier, you go to a bank and they'll ask you, if you're not making profits, I will not give you money. But today, banks are different. Today, banks have got separate class of funds which they want to, give to startups. Banks are investing in asset class like angel invest or like investments like VCs, Bs, and other things. Banks are putting some money there. Today, we've got fund of funds from the government of India, which is putting money into people who want to be, venture capitalists or investment. They want to create investment arms. So there is a lot of change in the Indian market itself, by which I would say that money is available. Only thing is you need to be bold and you need to be convincing in terms of what you're pursuing. I know there are some companies, who thought about space. So most people thought, how can an Indian company do something in space? And what is the business model for that? But today, space tech is very normal now in India. Today, we look at companies in space. So I meet companies who want to create data centers in space. Now, these type of things, Indians wouldn't think, let's say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But today, our Indian entrepreneurs are thinking about what they can do outside the world also.
Very audacious thinking.
And it's doable. It's not that it's not doable, because there are entrepreneurs in other markets who are trying to do it. So these people are also trying to do it.
I mean, I'm sure we can have the next Elon Musk from India or the next Bill Gates from India. It's just a matter of, the level of courage that we have now in India. I think it was not there 20 years back.
Yes,
We were doing safe things.
So things have improved. Entrepreneurs, we have a lot of success stories. So young people get inspired by success stories. So we have a lot of role models to talk about, right? So I think a lot of good things happening now in India, and it's only for young people to take this opportunity and.
Now, before we wrap up, as a woman entrepreneur, I have to ask you your take on women entrepreneurship and why we still have fewer companies being run by women, especially in the funded space. Although, for example, Falguni Nayar's Naika is one of the biggest success stories coming out of India, run by a woman, but still we have fewer of these, and statistically, it is seen that much fewer of women-led startups get funding. So, what do you think about that?
See, we have a bias. Typically we think a woman is weak and she should be, she should be controlled. So that's been traditional thinking. Women have always been, I would say, dominated by men, not only in India, in many markets. I would say that is changing. I see a lot of women entrepreneurs today. Many of them funded, many of them trying to get funding, many of them not funded but sustaining or doing their business. So if you look at especially the lower income groups, you see that women are the entrepreneurs there.
Yeah.
Right? They may get zero funding, but they are getting some type of support from many of the government schemes or many of the other schemes run by, I would say microfinance institutions, and they actually keep the family running. So I would say that, yes, you may not get so many Falguni Nayars or so many other women who have been funded, but there are plenty of women who are entrepreneurs. They are micro entrepreneurs, and they run their family, they run their livelihood, and they provide a very respectable living to their families. They run the families. So I think today, there is no bias literally in terms of men and women, especially in the funding space. If we always see that if there is a women women in the team, it's always a good balance. We think women instinctually are much better than men. The instincts of women are, very right.
That's very refreshing.
Compared to men, because women are able to sense something which men typically cannot sense. We have seen many failed women entrepreneurs also, but they have not stopped. They have continued to do their journey in other spaces. So women are very resilient, and I think it's great to have women in your team, in the founding team, or even for you to be led by a women entrepreneur.
Right. Super. We have a women's champion here. I'm so glad. Thank you so much, sir, for taking the time out. And I think we can wrap up this session. If you have any closing thoughts, please do share.
Yes, I do want to talk about the future of work.
Yes, please.
See, today, when you're talking about, work, we have to see what's going to happen in the next 10 or 20 years, right? How is the workplace going to change? Is education going to be important, or skills are going to be more important? So I think, in my opinion, today we hire people, tomorrow we will hire people and their agents, which means I come with my AI agent, which is going to cost you additional money, right? Because without my AI agent, I cannot function. So these type of things I see a lot of, workers in the factory getting replaced by robots. I see a lot of, international work environment happening, because you will have remote workers. You will have skills from any market. The freelancing market is going to improve. So everybody needs to get skilled so that they can earn their livelihood.
Right.
And spend the time in doing what they want to do. At the same time, devote some time to earn their livelihood. So I think the future of work is going to be very interesting, and people who do not understand that, they will be caught behind. In the sense, they will be left behind, and they will find it a challenge to overcome. So I would say young people should all fend for themselves, which means they should all become employment generators rather than employment looking for employment. So I think young people should have to create employability for themselves and also create employment for others. I think that's what is going to be the biggest opportunity in India, especially in terms of future work. So hybrid work models are going to remain between work from home, work from anywhere, any type of language, any type of nationality. All these things are going to be part of the workforce tomorrow. So I do see a very interesting change in how the future of work is going.
And students need to get prepared for that.
Absolutely. The opportunity is for students. And I think students, I would say most students should not listen to their parents. They should listen to what's happening around the world and make a call themselves in terms of what it is to do. Because parents conventionally, I'm not saying all parents, I'm saying a majority of parents typically tend to have a great influence on their children. And there is always a tension in the family. So I think from a mental health point of view also, it's going to be very important for, especially the young people to look at how mental health is going to help them. Because if they get frustrated, if they get addicted, it could be addiction to anything. So it's going to be a problem for them as long as the addiction is not something related to being productive, being creative, right?
Yeah.
So if you're addicted to being creative, that's a very good thing. But if you're addicted to just playing games or chatting all the time or just consuming content which has no purpose, you're going to waste a lot of time and your mind is going to go into a different place. So I do see a lot of problems also which the environment creates for youngsters. At the same time, as long as they're conscious, I think they'll be able to do a much better job than what we are doing.
Right. On that optimistic note, thank you so much, sir, for coming and chatting with us. And I'm looking forward for the next bunch of unicorns that come out of your stable. So all the best. I think you have got a Midas touch with the few stories that you shared, and you're able to identify great startups that have the potential to disrupt India. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.